I play Minecraft, you have most definitely played Minecraft, I'm sure of it. And from there, everyone knows C418's calm ambient music that plays in the background. Some people vibe with it, some people are at ease with it, and I'm most definitely sure that a lot of you only know him for his Minecraft music. Hi, my name is Vera, and I want to delve into the work of some well-known musicians that have created some of the video game music that may have stuck with you in some way or form, and showcase what they've created outside of what they are known for, because I think if their music from a game can latch onto you, then there's a good chance that their other music could hold on to you in the same way as well. And as an avid web explorer, I would like to provide you with more new things to delve into yourself, or a comfortable experience as you do. Whatever you're doing right now. What are you even doing? Mining? Drawing? Winning a ranked match? Whichever you're doing, stick around because I got some interesting stuff to show. And we're going to start with our famous German musician, producer, and sound engineer, C418. As many would be familiar with his works in Minecraft, many don't know about his other music outside the game. My favorite album out of all of them would be the One album. This album does contain some instrumentals that you may be familiar with from Minecraft. And that's because some of these songs do use said instrumentals, since majority of these were actually used within the Minecraft movie. No, not that one, but Minecraft, the story of Mojang. This was back in 2012. After recently learning this was meant to be used for a documentary, it makes a lot more sense on the way the songs were used to sound nostalgic to create these uplifting melodies that's all too familiar with what you may have already experienced long ago during childhood. But after revisiting this album, it's a bit difficult to choose a song to recommend since they're kinda all my favorite. I think I have two favorite songs. The first I'd considered to be a favorite would be Build Up Errors. It's a quite peaceful song that I kinda have on a sleep playlist and invokes this unique sense of nostalgia, more or less saudade. The second song that'd also be my favorite would be Suki no Koibumi, featuring Laura Shigehara, another artist who has been involved with the gaming scene by singing for Deltarune, singing original songs for early Minecraft fan animations, and creating the entirety soundtrack of the Plants vs. Zombies series. And there's much more she has sung for. With C418 and Laura Shigehara working together, Suki no Koibumi is the last song in the album, tying everything you've experienced from the list of songs as well as your possible early memories to really tug on your very heartstrings. Very, very beautiful. Unfortunately, I cannot find too much outside of Laura's works outside the video games, but she does stream on Twitch and recently created a wonderful new song earlier this year called When You Wake Up that I'd recommend checking out. Actually, hold up. I think I just found an album that Laura released to the world that introduced us to her, being My Blue Dream Plus, which was from 2004. After listening to this album, I definitely recommend checking it out, just to see Laura's origins and her fresh style for the time that makes her stand out from the mainstream music at the time. My favorite song from this album being 2.75. I think what I really like about this song is that the instrumentals somewhat remind me of the same instrumentals that had been used within the Plants vs. Zombies series, which is where I first learned of her, and I don't think that's a bad thing to draw from a game that was made much later, because it goes to show where she started and where she had been able to make it, to which I think that is absolutely impressive of her. But continuing the topic of Minecraft, I feel like I should take a stab at showing off one of the newer Minecraft musicians, Lena Rain. Lena's gaming background lies with her compositions featured in Minecraft. If you want to know, she made Pigstep and Creator, two of the coolest Minecraft songs I know, the entire soundtrack for a cool little neat indie game about climbing a mountain called Celeste, and a colorful looking indie game called Chicory, A Colorful Tale. And lastly, a newly released turn-based RPG game called Beastie Ball. She has quite the background, and it doesn't come from nowhere, as between these periods she has released albums of her own that are worth checking out. Out of the albums, I would recommend taking a look at One Knowing, as it comes from more of a personal standpoint. The overall vibes that these 12 songs offer would be ambience, but with a mix of pop. It's an album that feels like it was meant to be experienced alone, as this is her most personal album influenced by her personal experiences, important places, dreams, and lack of dreams. I think one of my favorite songs from here would be Tsukuyomi, as it has a rather peaceful vibe to it. Another thing I learned about Tsukuyomi is that it used Vocaloid, Lena Rain, which started to get me thinking if it's a Vocaloid character that wasn't listed, or if she used her own voice and created herself as a Vocaloid. So she can use the little sound bits that she has to make the song and messing around with her vocals. Or at least I think that's how it works. Not sure how the Vocaloid sound bank system works, but I'd like to believe that she did use her voice to make herself a Vocaloid in a way, because that sounds cool. That's my headcanon. End of questions. And creating music isn't her only forte. Over the years, she has been teasing her work for an upcoming project called Project Astray, which has now been officially named with the recent gameplay trailer, Another Reel. It's a narrative-driven story that puts you into the perspective of Astra, who is struggling to comprehend that she has reached the end of her life. Also, it's a bullet hell game. This is my 4th video, and it keeps coming back to bullet hell. I wasn't even trying to mention a bullet hell game in here, but oh, forget it. On to the next composer, but this time, let's switch it up and pick up the pace. So I found this game called Savant Ascent a while back, where you play this guy named Savant. You're ascending this ever so deadly tower. It's a cool and awesome game that has an awesome soundtrack, and only to revisit Nostalgia Train, I was looking for it in my Steam library, only to find a different game. So I have another game called Savant Ascent Remix that further expands on the original with more cool additions. This soundtrack has more music, and God, do I love the music. But the only reason how I found out about this game was because of the dubstep boom of 2012. In 2012, there was the boom of electronic music offering a variety of genres such as dubstep, drum and bass, or even electro swing, due to the big brand company channels that would feature these composers. One composer I found amidst these creators would be a composer I'd be very fond looking back at, being Savant. I think of his most famous and definitely one of my favorite songs would be The Alchemist, which had come out during the time period which has introduced me to the album that is also called The Alchemist. This album is what I'd say the go-to album to check out who Savant is, because it is more or less an all-in-one deal in my opinion. It's got electronic, it's got pop, and it's got music that makes you want to bust a move. God, that sounds stupid. The only reason why I'm telling you about this album is because my younger year-old self needs to tell this to you. Now there's a lot of discovery for this one guy as I was rediscovering, because Savant is constantly on the move as an artist would. That is when I discovered the 10-year anniversary of The Alchemist is when they made The Alchemist 2. Which touches upon these nostalgic feelings for me, as well as the songs that act as sequels to the previous songs from the first Alchemist album. Now, I am a sucker for nostalgia, and out of the Alchemist 2's lineup, my favorite song would be the Alchemist Prelude, as it acts as a new kind of arrangement for the original Alchemist song, painting it in a rather, how I interpret, a grandiose symphony stage play, which leads up to the next song in the album being Alchemist featuring Egoez. Is it Egoez or Egos? Ego. Oh shit. I'm not gonna lie, Egos sounds cooler. It's Egos. But it features Egos, and this guy throws in some mad lyrics that was originally a vocalist song. And I love the new originality and remixes of the old songs, creating an entirely new spin, making you want to bust a move. Yeah, I'm saying it again. On this carousel's dance floor. What the fuck does this mean? Why did I write this? And wrapping up with Savant, we're gonna take it down a notch. We're gonna calm this down, and we're gonna go just a little bit more wholesome by talking about a TV show. But before we switch up the pace, I'd like to do some quick honorable mentions. Last video, I made a small little mention about a game called Endocopia, but never really mentioned the composer's name. Well, to fix my mistakes, the composer of Endocopia is Paction. Paction has got some really cool music, and one of my favorites would be the Fraud Triangle. Speaking more of the last video, I'm just gonna mention Milky Possum again, because they're also cool. Would also recommend Milky's The Neat EP, very short, but also got some good gems. I like all 4 of the songs, and that's about it. On to segueing with a cartoon. So does anyone remember Steven Universe? Now, how many of you remember the music? Not like the music that they sing, but specifically the background music. When the show was still releasing, I remember falling in love with the music on the episode where they first introduced Connie, and it got me to search up the song on YouTube and learn who composed it. It was not one, but two people that actually made it, named Avitran and Sarashu, or their duo name, Avi and Sarashu. Outside of their work on Steven Universe, they had helped compose the music for games outside of the show. Together, they'd compose music for games called Cryomore, Soul Saga, and make an entire soundtrack for this wonderful game called Ikenfell. Now you see, I bought Ikenfell immediately as soon as I heard the two of them had composed music for it, because I'm a nerd. I'm a music nerd. I like their music, and it was quite a wonderful journey, full of a fun little turn-based narrative about magic school, puzzles, friendship, gay, and mystery. The gay part is important to the narrative, I promise you. Honestly, it's a wholesome little experience that I'd wholeheartedly recommend checking it out if you love any of the things I just mentioned. And lastly, if you would rather not play an entire game just to check out their music, which I think you still should, wink wink, I'd recommend checking out their most well-known work. At least I think it is. I'm throwing another opinion out there, which would be the Black Box album. It follows as a fusion album between Avi's melodious piano and Sarashu's mesmerizing chiptune, or vice versa, depending on the song, but it's quite a heartwarming experience. It's an album that has certainly gotten me through some rough times throughout my life, and it just sticks with me as fond and happy memories attached to each song. My favorite original song would most definitely be Shapeshifter, which I'd think would be a very nice introduction to getting a feel for their songs. I would also be biased and say their arrangement for The Lonely Rolling Star, which was technically composed by Yoshihito Yano, is my favorite. But it was technically created by somebody else, but I still absolutely love their version of it, and oh my gosh, it's so good. But yes, I'd absolutely recommend Avi and Sarashu's The Black Box album for anyone that... What's that? But yes, I'd absolutely recommend Avi and Sarashu's The Black Box album 10th Anniversary Deluxe Edition album that includes an additional 7 songs. That's the one I want to recommend now. And if anyone owns the physical 12-inch vinyl and collector's comic book, your collection is not safe. This video was meant to track you down, and I know where you live. In 17 hours, specifically 17, I shall finally be able to obtain a physical collector's vinyl and comic. You are not safe. Alright, I'm done with the bit. For a proper conclusion on Avi and Sarashu, I've learned that from digging around in Sarashu's portfolio and their album 24, that this album was inspired during a pinnacle moment in their relationship, being they've just nurtured new life into this world. A baby. A baby. This is probably a weird thing to point out, but I never really knew that they were a couple, or maybe they weren't a couple before when I listened to those themes many years ago. Who knows. But when I connected these pieces together and learned of this, I started to look back at all their music before, and it got me thinking a lot. I think with all the compositions from Steven Universe, Ikenfell, to their Black Box albums, and their music separately from one another and together, I think I understand them a bit more now. They're very loving people, and their music says it in every single way. In the very least, it means a lot to me. And to me during my life when I was going through hard times, their songs always feel like a needed warm hug. And I think that's nice. Alright, I'm done being sentimental. I ruined the pace of the video, I think. Anyways, there really isn't any order to how I presented all these composers. I just chose these composers because, well, they mean a lot to me. Although I found their music through video games, it made me want to hear more of what they compose outside of that medium. To my surprise, I found many songs and albums alike that had stuck with me for years, or even a decade at this point. And I found music in that sense to be very meaningful. These musicians helped me get through the best and worst times. And I thought, maybe if I share this with you, it could mean a lot to you as well. Thank you for your time watching my final video for 2024. It was a fun little personal journey creating and getting to talk with everyone in the comments about my passion for games and the creative mediums it strives to exist as. There is a long-term series that I may focus on about VR chat and my personal archival project, just as a heads up that may take over the main content on the channel for a while. But I'll be using this to challenge myself to consistently make videos, as this will be a race against time kind of project. This will give me a bit more leeway to take my time talking about and writing other videos that I want to take my time with. If you're also looking for more video essay kind of content, more of the cozy kind, I'd recommend checking out Cozy Queer Gaming with Vera Bombergirl Bradley, as she's got some pretty cool videos that I'd recommend checking out. My personal recommendation would be their video about Caravan Sandwich and their analysis on Caravan Sandwich's deeper relationship between the planet and its characters living on it. On a different note, as of making this video, apparently C418 recently just announced that he's also composing music for an upcoming game called Wanderstop. And just hearing the one song he's released for it so far, it sounds beautiful. But that's about it. Not really looking much to get monetized anytime soon, but just here to create good times for people to watch. So if you like this video, feel free to support the channel. And aside from that, I hope you have a nice day or a nice music session if you will. Bye bye!